Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Josh.
Nick, a two-part question, both regarding you and your staff. As Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen have emerged as interview candidates for other head coaching jobs, how are you currently best supporting them while also making sure that you guys accomplish the task at hand? And the second part is considering the amount of opponents that you guys might face and the total bandwidth, how have you gone about assigning responsibilities for your entire staff as you guys kind of scout and prep this whole week?
So first of all, your first question, you hire guys like Shane and Jonathan that know what are committed to the team. Also, obviously they want to be able to do what's best for them and their families, but I know that first and foremost is that these guys are committed to this team. And you have some time off here later in the week, as far as we're not grinding until 10 o'clock maybe every night. So there is some time that's happening later in the week for them to be able to do that. As far as anything with just helping them get ready for it, I really made a conscious effort of doing that all during the off season. Very similar to what Frank Reich did for me. When he had nuggets to give me, I made a very deliberate point of once a week getting the guys together and talking to them about things that that I thought would help them, and that they had when they had time to think about those things a little bit more. So, that's where I always thought that was my responsibility as the head coach to help them with those things. So. And again, I'll be a sounding board for them, if they need to bounce some things off of me. But I'll let them tell you when those interviews are going to happen and everything like that. I don't want to get into that, but I'll let them tell you that. But they'll happen when there's time for them to be able to do that, right? So we're in the middle of self scout right now, and I know all our minds are on that. Because these guys, again, you don't just get ready for an interview the week of the interview or the day of the interview, right? These guys have been preparing for this and just like I did when before I got the head coaching job here. And so it's just tidying up some things, making sure they're ready. I don't know. I imagine Gannon will wear a pretty nice suit. So I imagine he's got the dry clean. I don't know. Shane will have a nice suit on, but they won't be as nice as Gannon. So I know they'll be getting ready with that as well. I'm sorry, Josh, you had a second part of the question. I'm not great with two-part questions. I usually, because I get going, and you guys know me.
Yeah, sorry, no, just considering
sometimes I give you a ton of info, and sometimes I give you none. That's what you guys are thinking in your heads right now. All right, go ahead. What was the second part? Oh, the opponents.
Yeah, just considering the total bandwidth that you might have with your entire staff, how are you divvying responsibilities in regards to scouting?
This first part of the week is going to be devoted strictly towards self scout, and that's it. And then later in the week we'll be getting to that. And so, first and second down, you have different responsibilities of what you have, and you really get the head start on first and second down. And so. We'll double up on some things, but we have a good staff, like I said, and we're going to, if I'm responsible for one part and Shane's responsible for the other part, we'll just we'll take educated guesses, and two of the four opponents we've played recently, right? So we have a lot of thoughts on those two division opponents. Tampa, we obviously played last year, but obviously that's been a long time. So we'll have to do a little bit there. And then Seattle, we haven't played in my 2 years here, so we'll have to do a little bit there as well. So, that's, we have, different assignments, just like everyone has in their normal week. And you just might have to go home, and when you go home, make sure you're, getting caught up on some of the, some of the tape that you haven't watched on those teams.
We'll go to Tim and then Rube.
Hey, Nick, another two-parter for you, unfortunately, on Jalen's shoulder. So first one, how did he come out of the Giants game physically? And the second part is, what's your understanding for whether is he going to have to play through pain the rest of the way? Is that your understanding?
the second part of that, Tim, I'm not sure I can answer that question. We are fortunate that, excuse me, we're fortunate that we have 2 weeks till the next time we play, as of 2 days or, depending on if it's Saturday or Sunday. So we're fortunate there. And so again, like he's going to be a little bit more healthy than when he was, obviously the other day. He came out sore as expected, right? He came out sore as expected.
My God.
Can you pause for 1 second?
Hey.
Just give me 1 second. Okay.
Go ahead.
You all right?
Good. All right. So he came out sore, as expected. Tim. He came out of that game sore because it's still healing, right? And like we didn't feel like we were putting him at any more risk of getting more injured, but we knew it was going to hurt him like hell, and he knew it was going to hurt him like hell. But that's the kind of player he is. It's the kind of teammate he is. He fought through it because it was important for him to be out there, and he knew how important it was to him and his teammates for him to be out there.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ruben, then Zach.
Sorry for the delay, Jim.
Yeah, I have a 12-part question. Number one. No, I wanted to ask about Josh Sweat, and I know you don't do timelines, but are you generally optimistic? I mean, he seems to think he can play again. He will play again. Where is he right now, and what's his chances of being out there?
I know he is feeling better. And that's obviously a long way from when we all had to watch him have to be carted off. And so, I know he's feeling better. I know he made a push to play last week. We felt like it wasn't in his best interest to play last week for health wise. Are we hopeful that he'll play next, in 2 weeks? Yeah. Again, I don't want to, just like you said, like I don't want to say yes, he's going to play. We're really hopeful, and we're really feel good that he will. But anything can happen. But we know he's trending in the right direction of getting healthy, and that's a good thing because he brings so much to this defense. We feel his presence every time that he's out in that field, and I know that the offense that's playing against them has to account for him on every play. So we're hopeful. He's definitely doing better, which thank God that he is. And we'll take it one day at a time. But again, we are hopeful.
Thank you.
We'll go to Zach and then Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. You spoke about your schedule, but this is your first time in this situation in the NFL with the first round bye. How do you go about determining how to handle it, from scheduling to messaging to how to spend the week to preparation?
Yeah, just like you do with any other thing that everything's a learned skill, right, Zach? It's, none of your, you like to think you invented an idea or something like that, but in actuality, like you take little bits and pieces from each coach you've been around, and whether that's the good things you've been around or the bad things you've been around. Then, because I haven't been in this scenario, so obviously now it's calling the coaches that I trust. Calling the coaches that have experienced this before, asking them how they handled it, and then at the end of the day, just like I have to do with everything, I have to take a little bit of information from everywhere, and at the end of the day, I gotta make the decision that I think's important for that benefits the team the most. One thing I can say that I will say is that fundamentals are going to be a big part of winning in the playoffs, just like we believe it really is, in the regular season as well, right? Fundamentals. This player's a good player. That player's a good player. This coach is going to call a good play. That coach is going to call a good play. So what it comes down to is your fundamentals. So, we'll have a little bit more time for individual this week to get back to some of the fundamentals that you might not have enough time to do in the year. Kind of more so. Like a training camp practice or a OTA practice where you have more time. That doesn't mean we're we're not going to be in pads or anything like that. But all that means is there's going to be a little bit more time devoted to that individual, like there was in OTAs and training camp. And then the other thing is, Zach, is that there will be. It's going to take some situations, right? If we want to do all the things that we want to do in the playoffs, and that's literally winning the first game and then taking it from there. There's going to be situations that it's going to be the smart football teams that it's going to come down to things like that, right? And so we're going to rep that this week. Some of the situational football, some of the situations that happen within the situations of those. Work on some things that we've studied. That again, you have more time to do now. Maybe different types of end of game plays, different types of get in position plays, different types of backed up plays, all those different things that have been on our radar, like in that we've been working on. But now you can get some full speed reps of that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris, and then Dave.
Afternoon, Nick. I know you guys said you guys are in the middle of doing your self scouting right now. And since that's the case, what have you seen from Dallas Goedert, and what have you seen from these teams, especially when it comes to covering him in the red zone?
Yeah, with Dallas, obviously we're still at the beginning portions of this self scout. We know how important it is to get him the football. To say that we're to a point where we've studied each an individual and their catches yet, we have not got to that point yet. But we know. Like the identity. We'll get to our passing game. We'll get to our red zone game. And right now, you're going through sacks, you're going through interceptions, you're going through fumbles, you're going through drops, you're going through some of those things, and you're thinking to yourself, how can we coach this better? How can we be more detailed on this to help the guys put them in position to succeed? There is a time which just hasn't happened yet, where we'll get to individual routes that guys have run, concepts that we're good at, identity plays, within that. And what are you trying to do? Well, you're trying to put yourself in position to run the plays that you feel like you're successful at to the guys that you're successful with. And so all that will be taken into account. And Dallas is, and what we're going to see, I can already say that we're going to see, how efficient Dallas is, and the different things that he's good at will reflect itself, and we got a good idea what those things are. But that's coming up in the process. We look forward to getting to that.
Go ahead, Dave, and then John.
Hey, Nick, with all the success you guys have had this year, I'm sure you realized it was a possibility you might lose Jonathan or Shane. Have you spent much time throughout the year just thinking about contingency plans and what you might have in-house and out of the NovaCare complex that might help out in that case?
We, like I said, I know you're going to hear me say we take it one day at a time, this day at a time, but you still, as the head coach, I still got to think about those things. And, because that is a very important part of being a head coach is who you replace guys with. You're hoping that you have success. You're hoping that you lose guys for the benefit of them and their family and their career and their family. You hate to lose guys because the reason they're here in the first place, because I felt like they were really good coaches. But then just like you go into a job interview and you say, I want this guy, and this guy, that's not always the reality that you're going to get all those guys. So it's the same scenario here. Like, of course, I want to keep these guys. They're great coordinators. But in the event that I lose them, I've got an idea what I want to do at both spots. And the answer is to sometimes yes, it's in the building, and sometimes it's outside of the building. And but feel like we have a lot of good options, and I feel like we have a lot of good options in the building that we would be excited about. If that were to happen.
Go ahead, John, and then Martin.
Hey, Nick. I'm curious about the self-scout part of it. When you go back to the bye week, which has been a while now, you obviously have that process. Does it change any way at all when you're heading into the playoffs? Is there a different way you try to tackle it?
We feel really good about that process of what you're trying to do is you're trying to go through and you're watching the tape of these things, right? And you're looking at comment. For instance, we just got done watching the sack tape, and I won't get into that, but you look at there's the data of it. You have one coach that summarizes that data. You see common denominators of what that data may say, and then you put the tape on and let the tape tell the story. And then you watch it, and then at the end of that, whatever spurs thought, you watch, whatever spurs this is a common denominator here. Let's watch them all. It spurs thought, and then you go and you summarize those things. Hey, Shane, what'd you see there? Hey, Stout, what'd you see there? Hey, and I'll tell them what I saw there, and it's an open room to say that, and then, that's a really important part of the process. We feel like we always tweak our process to get better at it, and we really feel good about how that goes. And so it is a grind, but that's what we're supposed to, that's what we do. We grind to make sure we can find the answers to put our guys in better spots and to coach them more efficiently. So it's very similar. Then you look at the part of the game where you feel like you're a top 10, and what you have to look at some statistical things and some analytic things, and where it's where you are a top 10 team and where you are a bottom 10 team, and then you really dive into that bottom 10 team, what you are there, and you figure out what's going on, and then there's going to be naturally, as you go through that process, John, things pop up, right? And so you may have went in to examine. We talk about sacks. You might have went and examined why this was a common denominator, and then something pops up. And so what you're doing through that is, like, at the end of the sack reel, you say, hey, anything pop up right there? And naturally, we've had 3 things pop up, and that will be tomorrow. Hey, now let's take care of all the pop up things. Within the next couple of days, which is where those will be. So. We like that process. We feel like we're very systematic with that process. It's the only really way I know how to do it, and then just try to improve it each time. So it's very, very, very similar, because when you go back and I make taco soup sometimes for my family. Like I make the taco soup how I made it the last time, because my kids don't love it, but my wife likes it. So I make the taco soup the way I did last time, and then, why do my kids not like it? Well, because I didn't give them enough Fritos on the side, right? So then I'll maybe add a couple Fritos. So it's like you have a plan. I'll probably get made fun of for that, but that's okay. You have a plan of what you want to do, and you follow that plan, but always trying to make it a little bit better. So to answer your question, long-winded, the answer is, we stick to that plan, but we also know that plan has progressed every time we've done it. And there'll be some sort of revelation this week, that we say to ourselves, hey, it would be better, it was better that we did this time, and that will get added to it. And that's kind of how you go about your processes. And that's what we do getting ready for a week as well. It's the same. Hey, how did we get ready for last week? Okay, do this again. But remember, last week we added this little segment. All right, cool. That really helped us out that week. Add it to this week. And then that just builds as you go.
We have time for one more, so we're going to end it here with Martin.
That was my fault, everybody. I know that was a long one. And then the taco soup was a long question answer. Hey, Martin.
That's my fault, so don't blame me.
Well, if you want to bring in some taco soup for Jimmy Kemsky to review, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to do so. But anyway, my question is, during the course of the year, you guys brought in 3 veteran guys on the defensive line, and Robert Linval and, Damakan. I just was kind of curious, now that you've had them for a couple months, just kind of their contributions. I mean, not only, on the field, but also off the field, like their intangible type of things, both on and off the field. Thanks.
Yeah. Obviously they've all played for such a long time that they have so much to offer to the rest of the room, with their experiences, with their techniques, with their fundamentals, with their, everything, off the field, on the field experiences, both and so we know our younger guys are getting that wealth of knowledge, that they, that just other couple guys for them to bounce it off of, because really in actuality, they're getting a lot of that knowledge from Fletch and from Hargrave as well. So that's obviously huge. That's really huge. And then it's just the leading by example. Like that's really a big thing. And then you talk about all the things they provide on the field, right? The play, the rotation, the keeping guys fresh, where we just keep bringing numbers at the guys. Like, there's no shortage of defensive linemen on our football team, and that's an area like I know when we go against a team offensively that is limited on their defensive line rotation, we have a plan to attack that. We really think about that. I'm not going to get into the secrets of how we do that or what we do, but that's something first and foremost we look at every week. What's their rotation? How is it playing out? And how can we take advantage of that if they don't have a deep rotation? And so that's a huge thing, that you can rotate and still have major confidence in everybody that's going in the football game because of what these guys have done this year, what they've done in their past, but most importantly, what they've done this year, and that's play good at football.